Welcome back here to the Waco Center here in the Glenville State University Athletic Department, where this week we have another edition of the Coaches Show. And our first guest on this morning's segment is head men's basketball coach Bob Bolen. Coach, thanks for joining us this morning.
Coach, thanks for having me.
I tell you, now, first off, before we get going, I want to give a big shout there to the family, friends, and supporters who've given us such a great amount of feedback for this show. And I want to give Draven a shout out here for the work he does here producing, and just really appreciate everyone's support and interest in Glenville State athletics. So I wanted to throw that out there. Been getting some good feedback on these shows. But, Coach, first and foremost, coming off a win Saturday against Malone, non-conference game in here, Malone out of the GMAC. What are some of your takeaways from that victory on Saturday?
Well, Malone was undefeated, 5-0, and we got off to a really good start, our best start of the year. End up 19 at the half, and we started the half really well and closed it out well. And I thought that was big for our team. Defensively, we held them to 26 points, which was our best half of the year defensively. And then we played good the first 10 minutes of the second half, and then kind of had a lull the last 10. But, sometimes you got to learn how to play with a lead. And that was the first time this year we had a large lead.
Yeah, no, early in the game, I think Remy had 10 of the first 12 points, so you're getting, some points down low. But then that perimeter game really seemed to find a rhythm there late in the half.
Yes, it did. We got a few 3-point shots by Devin Collins, and that kind of opened up the defense, and Remy did get off to a good start. And then Rye Gadd was 4 for 5 in the game, and he had 6 defensive rebounds. In only 16 minutes, he led us in defensive rebounds. So I thought he really gave us a good contribution off the bench.
Yeah, and just for the team, from an emotional standpoint, because you played Charleston really tough down there at their place and came up just a little bit short. Very good team, tough team to beat down there. But then to come back and to have this one in your hip pocket going back into league play. Yeah,
a big game coming up against Notre Dame on Wednesday. And, it was good to get a home win heading into the conference play.
And going into conference play, opening up with Coach Richmond up here at Notre Dame, longest trip of the year right off the bat. Our first road trip in the league is, or second road trip in the league, but as far as an overnighter, all the way up there. Big game right off the bat. It sounds like a heck of a matchup.
Oh, they're really quick, play great defense, really well coached. And, they just have what I call some junkyard dogs. Boy, they play hard. They crash the boards. It'll be a real test for us.
And as far as, defending, you mentioned, some strong play, on the defensive end for a couple games here. How that has, been an impetus to the strong play both ways. Just about, how the team's played defensively here the last couple games.
Well, defensively, especially against Malone, we held them to 38% field goals, which is good, and 28% from the three-point line. So that was our best effort defensively of the year. And nobody had over 30 minutes for us, so we kept guys pretty fresh. And they got out of it. And it was the first game we won the battle of the boards, although it was only 32-31. I think if we hold teams below 40% shooting and win the battle of the boards, we'll be hard to beat.
Yeah, it was good to see. And then, like I said, Notre Dame, I know you take it one at a time, but before our next show, we'll also have a game with Salem at home this weekend, which was the fill-in for Alderson Broadus. And you've already played them once. As far as that matchup on Saturday, what can you say to that, Ray?
Well, we've seen them once, but we weren't at full strength that game, and they really shot the ball well. And I'm sure we'll have a little revenge factor in our pocket for that one.
Yeah, I know back, when you first got the job and, the conversation was about this arena and getting, to be the head coach in this arena. And now you've had a couple games in here, besides the scrimmages, a couple live games here with our fans and, the Vantage and, of course, all the frills that, Ike Morris has done for this arena. What's it been like, coaching in here?
Oh, I've really enjoyed it. We didn't have the student body, because they were out on Thanksgiving. So looking forward to that, getting the football team in here and getting all the athletes in here to get the atmosphere a little wilder. But just a great venue to play in. We practice in it every day, and there's not a background. And a lot of these gyms have a background, so we usually have a little advantage in shooting the ball. And just a beautiful place to play. You watch the other teams come in here and look around, and they say, man, this may be the nicest arena in the country, D2, and just a very enjoyable place to play.
Yeah, it's great just seeing teams, take pictures of it with their phones when they're coming in. It's really cool. And, just, a final thought here, just your takeaway on the leg. It seems like, up and down, there's a lot of teams really close in talent. It looks like there's going to be a lot of really tight games home and away this year up and down that schedule.
When you look at the conference from top to bottom, you have to play every night. It's not like there are 3 or 4 weak teams at the bottom, because they're not. West Liberty may have an advantage over everybody else, but then you go 2 through 10 or 2 through 11, and it's who plays the best that night. And West Liberty, I think people have to just get used to how they play and adapt to that. But it's just a tough league. There's no rest games, and it'd be nice to have one occasionally, but that's not going to be the case in this conference.
Yeah. Well, Coach, tell you what, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us here this morning. I think it was really enjoyed Saturday. It seemed like the non-conference a lot of times, especially over the breaks, a little more low key. But there was so much excitement coming out of that game. I just, feel a whole lot of positivity, a little skip and a step with fans and players. So it's been pretty good.
I think so too, Coach. And our guys will be ready to play Wednesday, and we'll get a couple good days of practice in here this week and get after it on Wednesday.
Okay, that's Wednesday night at Notre Dame. The link to the stream and the broadcast will be on our athletic website. And then Saturday, we invite you to come here to the Waco Center for the matchup with Salem. So, Coach, thank you for joining us here this morning.
Coach, thank you.
All right, appreciate you. Welcome back here to the Waco Center, back here in the Glenville State University Athletic Department. And our guest for this segment of the Coach's Show is head wrestling coach Dylan Cottrell. Coach, thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, excited to be back and talk some wrestling.
Yeah, I tell you what, your nationally ranked team, last time we talked, you were going into that weekend where, you were going 2 separate directions and concluding with that Sunday up at Fairmont. What are some of your takeaways coming out of that weekend? I know you were talking about it serving a purpose and just, you feel like, that was you got out what you wanted out of that weekend to move forward.
Yeah, results-wise, obviously not what you want. It's when you go up and you lose, right, to a team by a big margin. But we knew we were kind of behind the 8 ball with having our guys down to – we got 4 or 5 guys going down a weight descent, right? They were all wrestling underweight, really trying to move forward to hopefully have our full lineup or close to it, the closest to it we've had at Lander this coming weekend. So it was good. Also at the same time, even with, out that, just looking at the wrestling, against Johnstown, we really kind of got exposed in a couple of positions that was good, right, that we could come back and work on. So, we've been able to work over the last, week or so during break, and now, right, the last 2 days here with the guys coming back in positions to kind of help us. So, you lose and you learn at the same time. So, I think that helped a lot. I thought we wrestled well against Seton Hill, and it did. It really was just, trying to get through. It's one of those ones on the schedule where you already have it scheduled. You got to go do it. You probably don't need to be wrestling at that time, but, you're not going to back out of it. So you try to put, the best foot forward that you can, get out of there as healthy as you can, and then move forward. So, we didn't have any other injuries come out of it, which was good. Getting healthier, right? Moving along towards our next 2 matches before semester, which are both 2 huge ones at Lander this coming weekend. And then, we got finals week here. Our guys will be off that week, and then right into Midwest, which is, the biggest tournament of the first half of the year. So that's exciting that we're getting healthy for this.
And, just with the break, you mentioned, getting healthy. Tell me about, in the wrestling world, about the benefits of just being able to hit that reset button when you've been going, and again, with a big event coming up at Lander that we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah, I think, for anyone right now, it's getting dark early. It's cold, right? And it's the end of the semester. It's winding down. I think it gets in that little seasonal depression area where it's that time, and I think it's good for our guys to get to go home, be around family a little bit here and there, and Thanksgiving and Christmas, and just kind of get a reset, right? Like our training. It's tough, and they're where they need to be with their bodies. So it's not like those breaks are really, we're not going to lose anything cardio wise or anything like that. So, the sport's a lot of mental anyways, right? So our guys need to be in the right mindset, and it never hurts to get a little break away from wrestling, a little different perspective, a little time off. And like I said, also what we're talking about, right? A little time to get healthy, right? So, the breaks here at the end are nice in between, these big matches. But, when the weekends come that we need to wrestle, we need to be locked in and ready to go. There's a lot of rankings on the table, for these next couple of weeks that our guys can go and snatch up some good wins. So excited to see kind of how they respond over these next two matches.
And, right away here dealing with the trip to Lander, which has been beneficial for you. You have several wrestlers who are regionally ranked, nationally ranked, and they're going to get to face several other wrestlers, with accolades on the table as well. This has always kind of been a landmark tournament for you as far as being able to, get a little litmus test right off here going into December. What are you looking for out of this trip?
Yeah, we wrestle 4 Conference Carolina teams that are all pretty tough and teams that we don't see a whole lot, right? Concluding at the end of the day with Lander, who's the consensus number 1 team in the country, and all 3, any poll you look at, they're number 1, right? Flow Wrestling, Open Mat, Inner Mat, right? They're number 1 in the country. So, at the end of the day, right there, you got that, huge measuring stick of where are we at with the number 1 team. So that's why we're really hoping to be as healthy as we can so we can really get a look, right, and see where we're at. It is a duel, right? And then again, we've talked before that, duels really don't mean anything, but it's still, you still get those individual matches, right? That's more so of what I'm looking at. So, we'll go down there and, there's 4 matches. That's a lot for this time of the year. So we'll wrestle some backups in some matches, right? And, we're not really worried about winning the duels. I know, it's a little, for most people, they don't understand that. It's a little backwards, right? But we are looking to put our guys, right, in the most productive position to steal some rankings, move up in the rankings, right, while also making sure that we're just not over-wrestling them, right? So, the bigger matchups, right, of those 4 duels, right, a guy like Kyocho or a guy, right, we're going to wrestle them against the Landers, the Pembrokes, the guys that are ranked in their classes, and go up there and go get those ranked wins. And that will, make everything, that's a smart thing to do, right? And that's my job as a coach, is to put them in the most advantageous position that I can, Yeah,
absolutely. And I think, to your average sports fan, that is a bit foreign. I understand it from the track world is that, you have to look big picture and get those top athletes matched up against, the ones where they can, measure themselves against the very best.
Well, even for me as a coach, and knowing that it's tough at times because of the competitor I am, just internally. So, it does kill me sometimes, but I have to step back and I have to say, okay, it's December 2nd. Is this what's best for A and B wrestler on March, right? Or, the first week of March at regionals. So yeah, it is a different dynamic in that sense where, and like you said, the same thing with the track, that you do sometimes really have to look big picture throughout the whole year. And that can be tough. That can be frustrating. But that's our job, right? That's my job, is to put them in the best possible position. It's not for me to have the best individual record as a coach, right? Yeah. It's not about me. I had my time to do my stuff. It's about them now, right? So I need to put them in the best possible position. If that means an L beside us, right, or beside my personal record, that's okay, right? Yeah. That's okay with me. I want to see those guys succeed and be happy and shed those good tears and have those amazing moments in March, right, like we had last year, rather than having some instant gratification and glory in December. So Yeah.
That's right. Because when you cut through everything, conference regionals, nationals, that's really the only results that are remembered at the end of the day.
100%. I mean, Coach, this is what we talk about on the team. We have those 4 goals, right? And that's win conference, win regions, right? Win NCAs, and then the flip side of that is student athlete, everybody on the team above 3.0.
Yeah.
Right. That's our 4 goals as a team, right? Yeah. When we're looking throughout the year. So, I got to do what I can as a coach, again, to help them achieve and help those 4 goals become the easiest to obtain for them. And, even with them sometimes, they want to go, and I got to pull them back, right? I got to pull them back in sometimes and go from there. But, this week's going to be exciting. I'm really excited to see how Guy does down at 57 for the first time, right? Yeah. I really think the weight class is going to be a great change for him. The first time's never easy when you're making a big pull. So I expect, him to not feel the best in the first couple matches, but I want to see how he responds, right, when it gets a little tough and those legs are heavy, right? And nothing tells me from watching him wrestle over the last year and a half that it won't be a good response. I think he'll dig deep and get through it, and by the time the end of the year comes, I think he's going to be a real problem at that weight class.
I'm excited to see how that works out with him moving down there. And tell you, the last question I wanted to ask you here was, with the league, seeing what everybody else is doing. I know we've talked about West Lib and, how you match up with them, and they're a perennial powerhouse. But just the league as a whole, with the, conference coming up here, right at 2 months away now, what are you seeing from around the Mountain East?
Obviously, if you really look at it on paper, it is a 2-horse race, right, between us and West Liberty, has been the last 3 years. But I really like what I see out of Frostburg in their first year. And Coach Hutchins, he's a battle-tested guy, right? He was at Ashland for years and had great programs there, and I think he did a really good job with his recruiting class. They actually beat Fairmont the other day in a dual close one, 21-20. So I think Fairmont's got better. I know they're kind of like us. They're hit with the injury bug right now, but I think they're going to be, a little bit better once we come conference time. Notre Dame, we don't see them a whole lot. I think they got some good individuals. From there, Wheeling's better this year, which helps. Davis Elkins is better this year as well. So I think we're going to have better matches this year at conference, which will make for more entertaining wrestling. Yeah. But I think it's definitely us and West Liberty again. But like I said, if I'm looking at the conference and I'm, thinking what's a lot different this year, it's Frostburg. I think Frostburg brought in some studs, and I think they're going to shake it up a little bit and beat some guys that, come in and kind of disrupt some of those brackets. I thought that they've done a really good job so far the first half of the year.
Well, Coach, good luck down at Lander. And, again, we'll be having a conversation here next week with a follow-up of that. But thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you now. Welcome back to the Waco Center here in the Glenville State University Athletic Department for our next segment of the Coaches Show here on this morning of November 27th for this week's competition. And our guest this segment is head men's and women's track and cross country coach Dan Myers. Coach, thanks for joining us this morning.
Coach, thanks for having me.
Tell you what, making that transition, we've been talking about it here after the, we talked about the fall training with the track team a little bit as cross country was going on. We alluded to it, but now front and center, season starts this week up at Youngstown. What are you looking for this Friday up there at Youngstown?
I think it depends on the event group of kind of like where our expectations are at. Obviously our distance crew took a little time off and are just kind of building back and kind of use the meet as a workout and just kind of a rust buster. And I mean, truthfully, it's a rust buster for everybody, but, we're normally used to starting Marietta off the bat. So I'm excited to kind of throw them into the fire at Youngstown, and going to be a lot of schools there. It's going to be a very, very long day. And I think that'll kind of help prepare us in the long run, for how to kind of prepare for our races and warm up and cool down and kind of navigating through a bunch of people. So, I think that, patience is kind of a virtue, and a lot of them are going to be waiting a long time in between races. So, I think that will be a good experience for some young people that we have in the group. But I'm just looking for, a good team day in general, not just from a mark perspective, but just from like a team perspective, culture perspective, and just making sure that we're moving in the right direction that way. And I think the rest of things will kind of fall into place. Yeah,
absolutely. And I tell you, certainly just the vibe, seeing them this morning in the last couple of weeks. A lot of times you begin indoor season, it's a meet, see where we're at, but they're really excited to go there together, it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's awesome to see, like, after Thanksgiving break, and even where I'm a little bit like, early wake up call to kind of head into the office for coming back from break, they handled it, amazing. And, to be the energy that they had in the weight room this morning was awesome. And I think that will roll over to this weekend. But I love, some of the unique friend groups and stuff that we have within the team, and that's been fun to watch. And, we're hoping to keep that rolling and really just building some momentum and just kind of coming back to our expectations and using that to fuel them through the Christmas break. And in my opinion, that's where kind of champions are made, is when no one's watching during winter break and doing those workouts. So I think that I'm hoping that we can build some confidence heading into break and really give them something to push for and come back in January ready to get things swinging.
Yeah. And you mentioned about some of the different event groups, different objectives coming through. Of course, you mentioned, kind of a workout coming back for the distance kids. A big, stable of throwers that you have with Coach Johnson. I know you've been excited about seeing where they're going to land, but starting out, just talk a little bit about the throwers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that maybe to kind of get past the rust buster portion is like a Christian Hanna, Brandon Bowie, just kind of moving themselves kind of higher up on the top 5 all-time list indoors in their events. We'll have Casey Mahoney in shot put as first year with us, and then Adam Burnside in the weight. So and then we have some experienced people mixed in there as well. But I'd like to see as many people as we can get on top 5 lists as possible from that throws group, and then kind of going on the women's side. Brianna Browning's had a great fall. Macy Hilver's been a great team girl and has really gotten a lot better, kind of matching her marks already into kind of some practice simulations that she had last year. And then, who I'm probably most excited about out of the entire group is Janae Scott, who transferred to us. So, she's very explosive in the weight room and has adapted to a lot of the throws. And I see her being a top 5, all-time performer just even after this first meet. So, those are some good goals to kind of have for that group. But, we tend to be a little bit stronger outdoors because there's more throwing events. But I think that we can kind of hone in on those two things. And Coach Johnson's done a great job with them. And
you come to the sprints and hurdles, you get a lot more options this year for the relays and and I know we can't talk about recruits on here, but you're adding some pieces in different areas as well. You don't get to hurdle a whole lot, in the winter. It depends on the facility and the spots and you mix them, but you've gotten some really good work out of your group of hurdlers this year, and what you're looking for from the sprints and hurdles this week.
Yeah, Marlon Moores came a long way from last year, just more fit, more explosive. He's kind of coming off like a little nagging hamstring, so we're going to see what he can kind of do this weekend, but we're really excited for him January, February. And the addition of Aaron Kuffner, just from like a teaching and learning and just kind of a watch what I do perspective, they have different skill sets when it comes to the hurdles, and I think that match together, they've trained really well. Bella Skeens is going to be a great sprint hurdle combo girl for us. She's super fit right now. And there's some more people that will work themselves into top 5 performances, I think, like right off the bat. But especially Kuffner, what he's done before, I think his best over 60 was 8.38. So, that already put him pretty high if we could kind of match that off the bat. But anything under 8.5 would be a great start out of the gates. And then kind of moving into the sprint side, Mark Fernandez Stoller, our first international recruit that we have into the program. More of a 400 hurdler, but gonna do a 2-4 combo with him along with DJ English. So, and they'll be his first meet with the program. So there's some exciting things we're looking for there. And if you just talk about those 4 guys that we had right there, I think that's going to be a great relay moving forward. We're just doing 4x4 on the women's side this weekend, no men's side, but we're looking forward to kind of what that group can accomplish. And then obviously other groups that we've added some new vaulters, we have some experienced vaulters coming back. But even with it being, kind of only second, third week in the training for the distance side, still have some big goals there. Historically we've had a lot of people kind of, come in and get their 3K PR right off the bat. And we're hoping to have the first sub 11 3K girl and Natalie off the bat. So she has a big time to kind of chase out there. And based on what she kind of did in cross country, she should be able to get into a pretty hot heat, just kind of putting an entry mark in for her. So that's going to be exciting as well.
And you mentioned Kuffner about as far as being a leader, as far as watch what I do. Being a defending conference champ and the way he races, again, we've seen him at the conference championships, only seen him race a few times at the 400 race, but he's like an artist. The way he handles and the way he moves when he moves and the way he closes, and just having someone with that experience, not just the way he trains, but the way he races, what that means for having all the young hurdlers that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that he's really maybe even helped me be a better coach on is the fact that he's not super satisfied with just being the conference champ in the 4s. He wants a school record. And he knows that the competition is a lot higher in the 60s and outdoors in the 110s. So he knows that where his sprint speed kind of needs to get to. And he's kind of shown that in some of the tests that we've done early on. Their 20-second test, 45-second test. He covered the most distance in both of them. So I think that his fitness is in a good spot. And if we can kind of get that sprint speed, we're actually going to put him in the open 60 and the 200, which are events he's historically not ran. But I think for this time of the year, just trying to get the most out of him that we can, I think that he's going to excel.
And so up at Youngstown, again, I know it's a nice facility. Going to be a lot of folks there, as you mentioned. Am I correct? I saw on their website 1 o'clock. Is that field event starting at 1?
And rolling running events will start then as well. So we're probably looking at about an 8-9 hour day.
Okay,
so.
That's the beauty of track.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the beauty of track. There's always something going on. But well, Coach, tell you what, we really appreciate you joining us this week. Excited for the indoor season to start. And we'll be talking next week as we talk about how the chips fall up at Youngstown.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you now. Welcome back to the Coaches Show here in the Waco Center of the Athletic Department here at Glenville State. And our next segment, we have women's basketball head coach Emily Stoller. Coach, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hey, thanks for having me this morning.
Absolutely. I know you're on the go, getting ready to take the team on this road trip, which we will get to in a moment. But first and foremost, we'll circle back to that win down at Charleston. It's always big to beat a program of that magnitude and to beat them on their court. So now you have wins over Gannon and Charleston on the road. Pretty good start.
Right. 2 big wins right off the jump. Proud of my girls, the effort they put up, and all the games that they played. I think I've gotten maximum effort out of the majority of them, which I'm proud of that. But 2 big wins right off the bat. Charleston, still putting the pieces together. They'll be definitely championship contenders near the end of the year. They're the new roster, but excited to get the win there early on in the season.
Yeah, would it all stem back to the pressure and what you were doing defensively there right off the bat?
Yeah. So our game plan going in versus Charleston was push pace, and they did that, and we did an excellent job at it. We executed well.
Yeah, and again, Coach Kelly and the program's going to get a lot of wins this year, so that. I know that wasn't the start they wanted, but again, that's going to end up being a really nice win on the resume as the Gannon one was. Tell me about with the system and all the rotations and how many players are playing. I know it looks chaotic, but I know there's a science to it. Just how's that been able to formulate in the early season? Because I know it's always a work in progress, but it seems like y'all been able to find some combinations that are working.
Right. Well, it'll definitely be a work in progress throughout the remainder of the season. We'll face unexpected things throughout the year. Injuries, which always a coach's nightmare, but they're bound to happen. We've had a couple here early on in which we've had to make rotations around, but I think we're putting the pieces to the puzzle together pretty nicely. I'm happy with the product on the floor the majority of the time, so we'll continue to roll with the punches throughout the season and make the rotations that we need. But early on, I'm proud of what our coaching staff has been able to put together.
Yeah, and I mean, all things considered, I mean, when you were trying to just put a roster together with when you were hired, and I think to get we looked at all those regional powers you had, and to get 2 out of those 3 wins to be 4-1 right now, you have to be looking pretty satisfied in reflection where you are after the dust has settled, seeing what all you've been through to get to this point.
Right. Yeah, definitely happy with the start of the season. But there's a long road ahead of us, and the wins are behind us, and we're focused on the rest of the year here. But I think with the group of girls that we were able to bring in, they want it just as much as any other group that we've had here at Glenville State University. So I have high hopes for the season, and if we can keep their effort on track, we'll be in good shape.
Well, that road ahead begins this week with 3 games, 2 of which are on the road. You're embarking on a 3-day road trip here. That'll include a game at Pitt Johnstown, then going back into the league, going up and playing Notre Dame at their place on Wednesday. Again, as we talked about, different, gym background setup and all that. So it's always a tough place to play there. And then coming back to play Salem here, which was in place of AB, and a lot of unknowns with that. Your thoughts looking ahead to this 3-game week.
Road trips are always hard to come home 1-0. We got 2 here, so like you said, the gym at Notre Dame, it's unlike any other gym in the conference. A bit smaller. We're used to playing in an open arena with no backspace area. So it'll definitely be an adjustment. I think the biggest thing that we have, the advantage that we have, is that we have a group of girls who don't really know that we don't really shoot that well in that gym. So we have 2 days to prepare for that game. But, I'm excited for the 2-game away stretch. High hopes to come back 2-0, and, we'll see how the week ends us. But we're going in with full force playing Glenville State University basketball. And
with the league right now, again, we beat Charleston. State got us, and Concord got Charleston and State. How everything is shuffled here in the early going. Just what's your thoughts on where the Mountain East is going into December?
Right. So you never really know. And early on, teams look different and how they're going to look there when it comes March and tournament time. So I know things tend to shuffle up here pretty early, and that's where we're at. Again this year. I think Concord really has turned some heads this year. Definitely on our radar. I know we've got a shortcoming until we match up with them, but they're a tough team. They've got 2 of our girls from last year. We're excited to play them. And I think the rest of the conference has been complete shock with a few upsets.
Yeah. So. I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit here. Talking about having a player in the post, which it hasn't always been a situation in the program through all the success here. Lauren Calhoun, those moves on that low post, she's probably not old enough to remember who Kevin McHale or Moses Malone is, who they were, but it seems like she's got a similar game with the post moves when she gets down, or different ways she can score.
Yeah. So that's definitely been an adjustment for us bringing her in. I had a lot of questions. What are you going to do with her in the system? What is Lauren Calhoun going to do in the system? But we've made adjustments as a coaching staff to really maximize her talented ability on the offensive side, which I'm proud of my coaching staff for, because it was difficult in the beginning. There was an adjustment period where we were like, oh my goodness, how is this going to work out? We've got to, critique a few things here and there, but wow, has she stepped up to the plate and accepted the challenge? Proud of that girl, really proud of her. I think that the ceiling is non-existent for her. So excited to see what she'll do throughout the remainder of the season in our system here. And
I know that we had talked way back early on about really wanting the perimeter game to be on, to really open up the drives to the basket, and what Lauren's doing on the block. And at times, the team has struggled shooting, but they really found a rhythm, in the first half of that Charleston game and knocked down some key threes and got some separation.
Yeah, definitely shooting percentage early on here in the year. I'm not happy with as a coach. Definitely not one of our strongest points, early on in the season here, but it's something that, we're working on and we want to make adjustments on. But, we're getting the shots up that we need to get up. It's just the shooting percentage isn't there. But, definitely something that we're going to continue to work on. I think opening up the drive and utilizing the talented offensive sets on the floor that we hit, the points on the floor that we have are key.
Yeah, I know Z hit a few. Peyton hit some in the first half, and they really hadn't drilled a lot,
Right.
before that. And some other people were off in the game. It's just a matter of finding where you can get them all in the same, all in pretty good rhythm on the same night. You've got guys that can shoot it.
Yeah, I think that the majority of the issue we're having here early on is that we have a new group of girls, and they're trying to figure out, hey, what's her strength? And, hey, what's my strength and what's her weakness, and how can I pick up my strength to, overshadow a little bit of her weakness? We have, like you said, we have girls on the floor, in and out. We're picking different rotations, each game, and different girls are playing with girls that they didn't play with last game. So, it's all about developing that team chemistry, and I think throughout the season, that'll definitely flow a lot more.
Well, Coach, tell you what, it's been fun to watch the success here in the early season. I know it's a big week ahead, but again, tonight at Pitt Johnstown, 6 p.m. start, 5:30 up at Notre Dame on Wednesday. You'll be able to get those links and on our website. We'll have you up on the big screen down here in the office tonight. And then Saturday, back here in the Waco Center for Salem, we invite all of you to come out and see that one. Coach, really appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you now.